Look, I'm just going to quickly share my screen. I'm just going to maybe move the focus now onto the Boomi AI agents. Probably for everyone out there to realize, Ram, there's agents that are embedded and are part of the platform, and they're the ones that we're really talking about today. But there's also the concept of partner AI agents. I know that as Synapsewerx, we're going through the process at the moment of just registering an AI agent accelerator based around our recommendation engine, and at some point that'll end up in discovery within the website. But the focus today is the Boomi core AI agents. Are you able to just give us a quick overview and walkthrough of each of these, Ram? Starting with
Sure.
let's start with Boomi GPT. What does that do?
Yeah, so again, just going back to, I'll just give a quick spiel around why this has come to be before we get into that, because it's quite
Mm,
interesting on how quickly we were able to get this out into the market for free for all the customers, right? So Boomi as a platform is a single instance multi-tenanted platform, which means all of our 20,000 odd customers log on to the same version of Boomi since its inception about almost 17, 18 years now, right? Now, what that has led to is for Boomi to have the ability to anonymously index all of that metadata that customers use to build their integrations. Right, so we're only talking about the metadata here, not the data itself, because the data part runs elsewhere in the customer's organization, and we don't see or get to see any of that data. But the idea here is that once we've been able to index all that enormous amounts of corpus of data that's in there, or the metadata that's in there, um, just as we spoke about just now, data is the king, right? No other
yeah.
platform in the market that's got that ability, or at least have that lineage of ability to actually index all of that amount of data all this time. So once the data is in place, now that we've got the data, it's clean, it's what customers use, it's the right metadata that's been put in place. With the advent of the pre-trained transformer architecture, and Google dropped that that whole article on the web and changed pretty much all of our lives, we were able to very quickly use that technology to put our own GPT on the platform. So just like ChatGPT, uh, without it being public, Boomi GPT will let you chat to the iPads that is Boomi right now. So today, using Boomi GPT, you can actually say create an integration between Salesforce and NetSuite, or Salesforce or SAP, or SAP to Shopify, or any of those systems. It will create that integration for you, map those data structures between the objects that you want to map from and to, and better yet, it will let you do all of that stuff. So the GPT, the Boomi GPT, is the conversational interface that wraps up the entire Boomi platform's capability.
Cool. Thank you for that. And I know that we've been playing with this ourselves. I know how powerful it is. We've been experimenting with using natural language, which we've actually created off the back of decomposed other third party integration technologies. We take that XML and compose it, and we can use Boomi GPT, to build very quickly those integrations and interfaces. It's very cool, very powerful.
Yeah, and all the agents that you're seeing out there on the screen right now, these are Boomi agents, right? So we don't call it a GPT. These are autonomous agents
Yeah,
that, given a specific task, will do the task, and not only do the task, but they can actually communicate between themselves. So Boomi GPT will understand your natural language prompt and say if it needs to go have a chat or a talk to Boomi DesignGen, it will go invoke Boomi DesignGen and get that work
Oh,
done for you. So it's not about just saying, okay, this is one agent, you just do this and then
yeah.
switch to another agent, do that, switch to another agent, do that. No, that we've created an aspect of conversation here that it actually understands what you're trying to do and accomplishes it by whether it by itself, right? Or if it needs to talk to other agents, it will go talk to the other agent, get the information back, and present it back to you. So this is a complex web of interconnected Boomi AI agents that are intelligent enough to figure out what they can derive from each other.
So it's just like Carlos. It's just like one of our Synapsewerx blueprints that we use when we talk to customers. I think it sounds very similar to that multi AI agent framework that we have, where you've got and truly agentic, right? So you've got an AI agent that can use other agents as tools, and even those agents using tooling themselves, and so it becomes a very complex interaction between multiple agents working together to get the outcome that we're looking for. That's really kind of cool, Ram.
Yeah, and one other thing, when it comes to any integration platform out there, the the process of getting and or putting together an API or an integration starts from a business process saying,
Yeah.
okay, well, this is what the business process is. This is where the data is. We need to integrate with that system in such a way, in such and such data structures, get those data structures out, and then figure out where each of those data structures need to end up going to as a target system, connect to those target systems. And it's a process. You need to figure out where the data is, how do you transform the data. Now, all of that complex processes that you need to really design in traditional integration platforms can now be put into a prompt, right? So we spoke about this today. The important bit here is prompting because back in the day, I think about early this year or late last year, I was reading up an article where it said, mankind was probably have done a bit of a disservice to itself by inventing the mouse. No discredit to Xerox or Steve Jobs or anyone else, but we've kind of gotten away from
Mm.
talking to machines as opposed to uh, just pointing things at it because everything was UI. GUI was a great thing back in the day, but now we're returning back to talking to systems as a in another way, prompting machines to do stuff for us, right? So be it technology, be it household stuff, we are talking to machines again. So prompting becomes that much more important, and it will be very, very prevalent in the next years because without proper prompting, you can't get much done with Gen AI these days anyway. So prompting with Boomi GPT is also important. Once you know how to prompt it, it will create and it will accelerate the process of creating those integrations for you as well.
Yeah.
So a side question for you. I can imagine, based upon what you've just said, that probably the number one skill that integration and AI agent engineers are going to need in the future is prompt engineering.
Yes.
Can you imagine building everything that you need for a customer just through natural language prompting with Boomi GPT in the future? Is that where this is going?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you can see there the seventh agent right there on the screen that we've actually that we are just about to come out with is the Boomi coding agent, right? So
Yeah.
now already a low code platform like Boomi, which allows only two places where you can actually write code on the platform, is already now being automated. So you don't really have to write code anymore on Boomi if you ever had to in the past,
Yeah.
right? So yes, absolutely prompting talking and knowing how to prompt a particular LLM, right? Because every LLM is a bit different. Every LLM has its own templating to do. Yes, you can do chat with it in a natural language prompt, but the better your prompt is, the better you tell, better information you give it, the accurate your responses are going to be. So
Yeah.
the important bit is that once you've got the basics in place, all these automations, all these agentic approaches to automating your daily workflow on a platform like Boomi becomes that much more important. And absolutely, Boomi is heading that way, where you can actually build a full-blown prompt. Actually, I've got a big prompt that I've built over time that I just use it to demo to customers, and it's about 7 to 8 sentences long. I just plonk it into the whole prompt window, and out comes this big process that Boomi GPT creates for me using Boomi DesignGen. And it's amazing because what would have taken about maybe 3 4 hours to build that from scratch is now done in about 20 seconds, I'd say.
Yeah.
So you
I
can imagine the
Phenomenal.
scale. Yes.
and just to extend to what you just mentioned, Ram, I also 100% agree that prompting is the next big skill, which should feel natural, and actually it sort of does. You know, when for example, like you know, with some like ChatGPT 4.0, for example, when we are literally just talking directly to the phone, right, and just asking questions,
Oh,
sometimes it just feels very natural the way we communicate. Ultimately, what we are doing there is prompting, huh, right? And
yes.
the better we communicate as humans, the better we learned at a very early age how to communicate properly as humans, then the better prompt engineers we are going
Right.
to be in the future. And I am seeing right now with my kids, for example, like a couple of years ago, they used to have their technology classes was with Python, and now
Mm.
they have the first Python sorry, not Python, the first prompting class, which literally they are now learning how to prompt. When I asked them like how did you feel it, they were like just asking questions, like, you know, it's just
Yeah.
structure ideas and to put it in a structure, in a way that it is a structure. So to them it felt natural, and because of what I'm seeing with agentic AI workflows, that ultimately, you know, providing instructions is just storing, you know, the right prompts that will are now treated like code, that they need to be version controlled, because this is ultimately the new code that ultimately creates the instructions that will tell your AI agents what tools to use to achieve what sort of tasks. What I am predicting right now is that, because this is a natural skill for humans, this is the way we naturally communicate, and you are right, probably, you know, having a mouse in front of us stopped our creativity for many years. But now that we feel a bit more liberated, my prediction is that this space is just going to explode. And you know, it is going to massively evolve so quickly, because now we are going to feel free to start making this code with just telling our ideas and what we want to do, and then tools behind the scenes will understand our prompts, so they will understand our natural language, and they will do whatever we want to do, and then we will have those frameworks in place to tell, well, that's not really what I wanted, can you
Yeah.
please remove this, can you add that? And this is also one of those things that Boomi GPT provides, which to me it is pretty smart, not just at the beginning to create your integration, but then it allows you to interact with it and change it, but again using words, not necessarily clicks anymore.
Yes.
It's kind of cool. I think completely random, fellas, but whilst you've been talking, I think I'm going to put this request into Ed and the team when we catch up with Ed in a couple of weeks at Boomi World Tour in Sydney on the 21st, I think it is. I'm going to ask if he's considered building a Boomi prompt library, because just like, you know, just like we can have catalogs of integrations and components that we've built. I think the new really useful library is going to be the prompt library. I think we're doing it already. Ram, you've got your prompts, right? My prompts probably aren't quite as sophisticated, but I use prompts when I'm prompting for imagery or for video and editing and doing bios. So I think a prompt library would be pretty cool, and then having GPT accessing Boomi GPT being able to access that prompt library could be another accelerator. And then when you've created such a wonderful prompt, Ram, it'll be really good to share that love, and then others can use that prompt too, if you've decided that that's what you'd like to do. Guys, very, very cool. Can we just rattle through maybe the other agents too? So we got Boomi DesignGen.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yes, so the DesignGen is the agent that actually then takes a lot more input from GPT or any other agent, and then actually creates those integrations for you, creates the components underpinning all of the integrations like a map, decision shape, error handler, all of that stuff. It takes care of all of that based on your prompt and creates that for you. So that's the DesignGen agent. The Pathfinder agent is the next level to it, right? So once the DesignGen agent is done, pretty much 90% of the day of the time you'll be there, you'll be ready to go. But there will be instances where you might need to improvise on it. And Pathfinder is that next level accelerator where you'd go, right, based on my existing usage, and this is the important bit, existing usage of my tenant in Boomi, it will then figure out that, you know what, most of the time after this, what you've done in integration, these are the next logical steps for you to take based on what you've done already, right? So it's not just preempting what should be done, it is also taking into consideration like best practices, your current usage, and all of that stuff is being fed into that, again, kind of that generative AI based workflow under the hood. And it is now coming up with suggestions as to what is the next path or next natural path for that integration to take after the Boomi DesignGen's created for it, right?
Cool.
Now,
And that, did you say that that's then learning specifically
yes,
from a client's instance?
yes.
Yeah.
So it actually learns from the steps that have been taken
Yeah.
historically from that client's or that tenant's actions. So let's just say before Boomi GPT, you were creating everything from scratch, which meant that you were saying, right, from after a decision shape, I want to run all these rules again on top of that decision. So you might just drop in a business rule shape in there, or you might just put a try catch block before your decisioning, right? So you might want to return business errors or business exceptions, so that your ops team is able to better uh, address the issues in production, right? So all of that
Yeah.
stuff you would have done manually. Now the Pathfinder will autonomously look at your practices and figure out the data mapping that you need to do, figure out the next steps that you need to do. And all of that stuff is already given to you in a curated steps so that you can just click away and select it saying, yep, okay, that's it, that's good to go. And then it moves on. So the idea is to accelerate it after the fact that you've got DesignGen in place already. There you go.
Sorry, just quick question on Pathfinder. So does that mean then, in theory, the more and more you're building within the Boomi platform, the more and more it's learning and the more intuitive over time it's going to get?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So brand new first up customers, they will still see those next steps based on the best practices that we have put in place anyway,
Yeah.
right? So that's already there. So just because you've not been using the platform or your first user of the Boomi platform doesn't mean that you can't use Pathfinder. The idea there is that we've already put the best practices in place. We've already put all of that automation in place already on the platform, ready to go. But over time, what it's going to do is it's going to start learning what you as a customer are doing, and then start to build those back into kind of in an AI space, augment that information back into our practices to say, hey, you know what, apart from our best practices, the customers already been doing all of these things very frequently. So you might as well just get a mixture of best practices and your frequently used shapes, so that you don't have to go off looking and searching for those shapes in the design pane. They're just right there for you. That will then accelerate your process building exercise that much more so.
Very cool. Data Detective.
Yeah, so the data detective is another aspect where I've been really thankful for the team to have thought this through, because this is one of those things where, you know, as customers start to build more and more on the Boomi platform, um, the amount of acceleration they get on the platform, they kind of start to lose track of how much they can actually build in the platform. So they keep building more and more and more. Now, there comes a point where some kind of audit comes into place, and then the organization or the enterprise security team goes, well, okay, what's happening with the platform? There's a lot of information, there's a lot of data flowing through. How can you know what kind of information is flying? How do you classify the information that's flying through the platform? And the Boomi Data Detective is an agent that actually, or is an AI agent, obviously, that actually goes through and classifies all the metadata structures that customers build on their tenant on the platform, and it classifies across a few different categories, saying, okay, this is a personally identifiable information, this is health information, and all that kind of classifications are done out of the box for you. As soon as it's turned on, it looks at it, constantly keeps looking at all the metadata structures, just like profiles. So let's just say you're bringing in an account data structure in an XML format from Salesforce, and you're pushing that off to NetSuite, right? For example, and in that example from NetSuite or Salesforce to NetSuite, you now have the ability using Data Detective to say, right, all of these fields are personally identifiable, and more importantly, these fields are being used in these particular processes, and each of these processes are connecting to these systems. And these systems, by the way, are connecting to different geographic locations as well. So it's got a nice little world view of where your source system is located, because it can figure out from the metadata that it's connecting to a URL, and that URL resolves to a North American instance of Salesforce. It goes off and then creates a line from North America right into Australia. And then if your NetSuite instance is in Australia, it will then create another line into the NetSuite instance into Australia. It all becomes a lot more graphical and very easy to find information about your PII data. And that's what it does. It detects, it classifies, and presents all of that information, PII information, up on the screen in a nice little graphical view. That's very important, because come audit time, that's your friend right there. You've got all the information, all of that stuff ready to go. And this is one agent that constantly keeps working behind the scenes to keep updating the catalog of your PII data.
And
That's pretty. Oh, sorry, go on, Carlos.
just Michael, just to extend the other one thing that I find that is truly fascinating with the Boomi Data Detective, that what just Ram just mentioned, is that it does all of those things and it does it in real time. So you know how sometimes we have worked with many organizations where the data is days out of sync, and there is a time of a board meeting, or there's a time of an audit, and they cannot make decisions because data is completely out of sync. It is outdated, days
Yeah.
outdated. Well, all of these data, the PII data, all the fields that are retrieved, they are really available in near real time. That is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, pretty unique. I think sounds to me like every organization out there really needs this agent running in
Yeah.
their integration layer, right?
Yeah, it's also important to know, just to wrap up that discussion, it's also important to know that these agents are not talking to data, by the way, okay? Because the data is running on the Boomi runtime somewhere else. So two aspects to the Boomi platform: the control plane and the data plane. The data plane is where the action actually happens. The data actually connects, or your integrations connect to your systems. Data actually flows through the runtimes. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about the runtime data here. We're talking about what customers use to build as metadata, as in data profiles, that is basically metadata structures. And the data detective looks at the metadata structures and their data types and then gives the classifications. So
Yeah,
you're not actually classifying your data,
the actual data.
because
Yeah,
we don't want to look at your data,
that's
obviously,
right.
because you want to protect data sovereignty here and data classifications and all of that stuff. But the idea here is to give you a view of, hey, if you've built an integration, if your data is traversing through Boomi at a metadata level, here is your PII data. Now, here is the process that is running that data from and to those systems. You can now go into your data plane, which is your runtime, and then check out whether you want to really do it or not. That's a different ball game altogether. So we really have that delineation between the control plane and the data plane, so that we keep all of our certifications that we have, right? Because obviously we
Yeah,
don't want to be touching customers' data,
yeah,
right? The customer's data flows in the data plane. Yeah.
and a good differentiation and distinction to make. But what it is doing is it's highlighting at that metadata level those data items that potentially are flowing through that are potentially at risk, and then it gives you those indicators,
Yes.
and allows you and it's an amazing tool because it then allows you to go in at that data plane level and start to really look at the data. And you might ask the question, why is personal information flowing through on this interface to this system, and why am I sending it over there to a partner? I probably don't want to be doing that, right? But it's giving you the tooling and the information that you need to be able to make an informed decision around that data privacy and protection of personal identifiable information.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? The next agent from the data detective is one of my favorite ones. The Scribe. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
believe how much of positive rap that's got from customers. Every time I've spoken to our customers and talked about this, they say this is exactly what we needed, and I keep going, right? So this this agent actually, in design time or in real time if you wanted to, will document your integrations for you automatically. So gone are those days where you would actually need to sit down, create a new Word document or a page on a Confluence, and then start documenting what you've done, which is the most boring process for me as a developer back in the day. If you caught me in my IBM days, that's what I would be complaining about more than anything else, not writing code, because coding was great for me. I would just write lines and lines of code, but ask me to document it, I'd be the most unhappiest person around, because I got to keep writing all these documents. Now, what happens here is that the scribe agent looks at the metadata again. We're just playing the metadata, which looks at the metadata of a process and documents what it's trying to do. Will give you the business context. It will give you the technical context. It will give you a picture. It will give you a design picture of that integration. It will document it. And at the end of the day, you can download it as a Word document, or better yet, soon to come, an API to just automatically upload it into your Confluence project, so that your all your integrations that you're building in Anger with all that acceleration is going to be up to date, cataloged, searchable across the organization. Now, that is awesome, because you're exposing your integrations, you're deploying your integrations into production, and from the time you deploy that integrations into production, your documentation is up to date, ready, searchable, cataloged across the enterprise. And that's awesome.
I think this is what you're going to hear when every developer out there hears what you've just said. This is what they're going to do.
Yep. You know what?
Because
that voice cannot be loud enough for me, at least personally, because that's awesome.
I think I know personally, I've been in integration now for a very long time, 25, 30 years. I remember back in the day when we were doing like hundreds of point-to-point interfaces. Like, one of the worst things, the bit that the developer hates doing is sitting down and writing their tech specs and then updating their tech specs. It's just, they love creating, they love building, they love coding, they hate paperwork and documentation. So I think this is phenomenal, and everyone that's out there is gonna really enjoy using this. We've played with it, and we can say it does exactly what it says on the tin. It is pretty phenomenal. That link to Confluence would be pretty amazing. Looking forward to that.
It will come. Look, personally, I don't see any other way other than that. It should come. It will be there. Personally, I think it will be there. I'm sure the guys are working on it. But look, full credit again. I cannot stress this enough. Full credit to the product team.
Yeah.
They did an amazing job at this. And guess what? And then this is what I keep closing off my comments on the agent with most of my customers, is that, guess what? This has not been there for 10 years. This has just been about 3-4 months. And I can only imagine what it can do in the coming year, because it's going to be rich. It's going to be rich in business context. It's going to be personalized for you, for sure. There's no other way other than that. It's going to have to go that way. It will go that way, right? It will be personalized. It will be rich. It will be integrated into your document management system. And I can't wait, because all of that stress of writing documentation is just going to go. All you need to do is use Boomi GPT, DesignGen, Pathfinder to do the right thing by your process, accelerate it. And you know what? All that automation that you can build with Boomi around CI/CD, deployments, automated deployments, as soon as the production deployment's done, ratified, verified, click off an API, all those integrations that are part of that deployment get documented and uploaded on the fly in real time, ready for the enterprise. And that is awesome.
What you just described right now, Ram, really gave me goosebumps, because this is pretty cool. I just imagine, as part of the CI/CD pipeline right now, as you are testing your code and then promoting that code to be deployed, then just another step that is like, and by the way, just create a documentation and put it that way. You not only ensure that the documentation is correct and it's done, which is the first step that doesn't always happen, but it is also up to date. So there's no way that you can go, which happens many times, most of the times, you go to the documentation, you are like, but it is probably 85% accurate, because we don't really keep it up to date. Well, guess what? It is part of the CI/CD pipeline now. It is always going to be up to date. That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So no choice. Yeah, true. The next one, the Boomi Answers one, is again, I think a fantastic job again by the product team, because you know what? Every time a customer gets onboarded, they sometimes even if the Boomi platform is very easy to learn, very easy to onboard and get around, sometimes finding information, you need to go into different links, different pages, different right sources, get the information, and then start to learn. Well, guess what? That process is now automated now too, so that you're in one place. You don't have to switch browsers. You don't have to switch anything. All you need to do is go back to Boomi GPT and ask a question. Now, Boomi GPT figures out that, okay, this is not a task for DesignGen or Pathfinder or anything. I have to just hand off this to Boomi Answers, and Boomi Answers is going to go away, stroll through all of the community documentation, all of the Boomi help documentation, and come back to me with my answer that I wanted to know with the question that I asked. And that's awesome, because you have to maybe go on to help.boomi.com or community.boomi.com and log in and then figure out what that information is about and see if it's the right fit for the information that you're looking for. All of that stuff is now just gone. All you need to do is just ask the question and it will come back to you with all the information you need. And more often than not, you don't have to leave the window. You just have to be there, right there in the platform, on right next to your Boomi hub or Boomi integration or API management or event streams. Doesn't matter. You can still be right there, doing what you're doing. Just ask the question, get an answer straight up.
Mate, what a massive time saver. How much time do we spend every single day, both at work and in our personal lives, searching for the information, finding the right document, checking that it's the right version, then reading through the document, trying to find the bit of little nugget that you need. And it's the same in forums and Reddit, so you can imagine just how much time this is going to save any developer or any engineer.
And
Exciting.
just to classify the information, right? Just like ChatGPT, if you ask ChatGPT about Boomi, it's going to say a few things about it. That's fine. That might be about 40-50% accurate. The other bit, it might be hallucinating. Guess what? The information that you're going to get from Boomi Answers is only Boomi information.
Yeah.
It's hardened. That's where the Boomi information is, and it's only going to look at that Boomi information. So you're only going to get information from Boomi, from the right sources, from curated sources and curated data. And again, goes back to that data, because the team has done a fantastic job of curating the right information so that we get the right answer at the right point, at the right time, and the customers get that acceleration straight up.
Ram, for many years I've worked with IT vendors, and one of the things that I really disliked the most was answering RFPs. So I can just imagine how simple the life of responding an RFP is going to be with Boomi Answers. It's seriously, you can probably, we can probably create in a couple of days an AI agent that uses Boomi Answers in order to automate completely the response of an RFP within 2 minutes.
Yeah. So we've already done that internally in Boomi. I personally, that was my project, and I can't wait. Seriously, it's all there, it's all done. We're going through a few internal steps, but yes, RFPs are a pain sometimes because they are huge. And to customers' credits, I think they put a lot of effort in creating that documentation because they're really serious sometimes, right? They're really serious about what they really want, and they more often than not they ask the right questions. And the important bit is for us not to just give them an answer for an answer's sake. You have to be really contextual to what they're asking for, read the requirements, understand what they really want, and then curate the answer, and not give them links as answers, because we don't want them to be getting more work from us after they've done that enormous work, because that's not right. I mean, from a customer standpoint, if I was the customer, be saying, well, I've done all this work for months on end. You're now giving me back more work to do? No, that's not right. So it's about giving concise information, the right information in the context of what the customer has actually asked for. So yeah, that's what we built internally already.
Very cool. And I think any of us in the consulting industry who've been around long enough knows just how much time and effort, not just for you as an individual, but usually, especially on the larger RFPs,
Yeah.
as a team. Right, it's a team of individuals, and having some tooling that allows you to do that is very, very cool.
Yeah.
Look, Boomi coding agent we've talked about. Just a quick chat then about HubGen.
Yes. So this is one of our newest members of the agent that again is orchestrated by the GPT. So in GPT, you can just say, hey, create me a data model or a hub data model, and it actually is more intelligent this time around. So what it does is it looks at uh, common systems that are usually used to build data models. So, for example, let's just say you want to create a data model and you've given it a prompt. It will go back and say, hey, okay, I know you want to create a data model. Which of these systems you want to create a data model from? So it goes from a system level. So say maybe Salesforce, NetSuite, your WMS, your ERP. Okay, so you selected 4 systems to say, okay, I want to create a model out of these 4 applications in my organization, and it's going to go down to the next level of different objects that each of these systems host. So let's just say Salesforce has got contact account, and ERP has got the product, and business partner information that you want to round up and create a golden record of across the board. So it allows you to select all those data models, all those objects automatically and drill down, and then it will create that data model for you across all those systems. And better yet, it will help you move and create the model in a data hub repository on the fly with one prompt. Basically, all you need to do is prompt it. Once you do it, it will just go away, build that data model for you, and push that data model out into your repository straight out. So the amount of acceleration it's going to give you on an already accelerated product, it's I personally call it hyper acceleration, because now you're putting a lot more. It's like putting a rocket engine on a uh, already NASCAR level or a V8 engine level model, that you just put a rocket engine and then just go light it, and it's gonna just grow. And this is just the beginning. Again, this is what I keep saying to most of these agencies, that
Yeah.
you know what, this is just the beginning. You know, once it gets mature enough with the data that we need to give it, it's going to know a lot more about your tenancy. It's going to know a lot more about your metadata in your instance of Boomi. It's going to be so much intelligent that it's going to learn your design patterns. It's going to learn your application names. It's going to learn your personally given names, not just Salesforce. Maybe Salesforce has got a different business name in your organization and you decided to give it. So it's going to start learning those names for you. And in the prompts that you give it, you can actually say, you know what, go talk to my customer service system, not Salesforce. And it's going to recognize that, okay, by customer service system, RAM actually means it's Salesforce. Okay, let me just go away and pick Salesforce up. Right, so all of that is coming. There is a lot more innovation that's coming, and I can't wait. It's awesome to be in Boomi these days, especially in these times in Boomi, because the amount of innovation that's coming into the platform, and better yet, the part ecosystem is getting a lot more mature as well. I mean, partners like yourselves who understand the value prop, who've been there, done that historically with other platforms, is a testament to figure out how much value it can add to your customer footprint in the first place, and the fact that you're taking up all of this effort to actually, be engaged with us, understand the value prop, understand where things are going, and actually interacting with the leadership, adding a lot more value to us. It's amazing for the customers between ourselves because we can add a lot more value. It's like, again, going back to that rocket engine saying, okay, Boomi just alone is great, but Boomi plus partners like yourselves, well, get ready for the rocket ride. I'd say for the customers, it's amazing.
Yeah, look, thank you, Ram. I think look, we share the same dream and vision, and I think for us, this is about value. Like everything that we do, we just want to add value to our customers. We want them to get the best possible outcome for their business in the most cost-effective, value-driven way. And as you know, everything that we do at Synapsewerx, it's all about AI. That's our North Star. That's what drives us. That's where we see the future of organizations going. This is why we are genuinely, and I'll say it again, so excited about Boomi as a platform, the leadership team, the technologists like yourself. Everybody lives and breathes the same thing that we do. And so it is really exciting. And I was just saying, each of these agents as a standalone agent are phenomenal in what they do. They add a massive amount of value. But you put it all together, it's all orchestrated by this Boomi GPT, and oh my God, it's like dynamite. It's like it's something that takes it to a different level. There's nothing else out there in the marketplace that's even close. So very, very cool. Look, Ram, thank you for taking us through those. I know we spent a huge amount of time today talking. I don't know if we have any time left to be able to do a bit of a demo. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got, we can definitely.
I'll stop sharing.
Sure.
So this podcast actually ended up being significantly longer than any of us had intended, mostly because there's so much goodness to talk about in relation to the Boomi platform where AI agents are concerned, but also because, we just kind of love to talk. So rather than editing out all of the fun bits from this podcast, we've split it up into 3 separate but linked episodes. Hopefully you can get to hear all the great things we have to talk about and in slightly better bite-sized chunks. Now, without giving too much away, here's what you can look forward to in the next episode. Just click the link in the playlist to listen to the next part of our chat and enjoy. Absolutely a massive no-brainer. Just think about the money that a customer's going to save if they purchase Boomi and implement their integrations using Boomi. You can see that personal data is going from one country to the next.
This is actually showing you what it's built straight out of the box.
Said that all of these Boomi AI agents are free.